Things are good here in Jacksonville. Good day yesterday. First time to see the 90-man team, out there working their first OTA. And a week ago Saturday was rookie minicamp as well. So we've had two media sessions so far with a brand new organization led by James Gladstone and a good friend of mine, Tony Baselli. I did the Tony Baselli show back from 1996 on and worked with him on the Jaguars radio network. And of course, Liam Cohen coming in. So a lot of changes here in Duval.
No question. I got to ask you right at the gate, Tony Baselli being a SoCal guy, USC legend, I think one of the best to ever do it. So I think he's doing a hell of a job there. Let me ask you, are the rumors true? Is Travis Hunter the talk of the town? Is he struggling at wide receiver right now, like everyone's putting out there when they show these clip baits? Is he struggling at that position, or is he not struggling? He's playing both ways, doing his thing, and people are just getting over-exaggerated.
No, he's fine. I actually sent out that clip yesterday. It was right in front of me. He dropped the ball that, he should have caught. There's no question about it. But, he's looked real good early on, both in rookie minicamp and then as well yesterday, at wide receiver, catching balls from Trevor Lawrence. I remember a year ago at camp, Brian Thomas Jr., the first 2 days of training camp, he dropped one in the back of the end zone with, a few thousand fans in watching. And then the very next day, he had a drop ball. And then the year prior to that, Calvin Ridley looked like he was ready for the Hall of Fame. He was so good. So, yeah, there was a big drop by Travis Hunter yesterday. But outside of that, I think he's been as advertised. And this kid is so special. I mean, every time he touches the football, legitimately, he has a chance to go the entire way.
For sure.
Nice.
And I mentioned, I remember Jamar Chase, I think, a couple of years ago, too, his rookie year. He came in. People were making a big fuss about him dropping passes in camp and ended up being nothing. Yeah. So is there anybody or anything, I mean, you mentioned being at camp, obviously. Is there anything that stands out, even outside of Travis Hunter? Just, is there any players or any just, even with Liam Cohen and the new coaches, is there just anything that just feels, I guess, different, this year with you just being around?
Well, I think it's interesting because, Liam Cohen's really going to stress the screen game. And I think if you look at Trevor Lawrence's career, he's been inconsistent in a lot of his short passing. And they were actually working on his his feet as well, his footwork, which is amazing to me going into his fifth year that you would go back and work on his technique. But they're going to do that. What's evident to me is just how much faster this football team is. If you take Diami Brown, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., and the rookie here now, and Bashal Tutin, that's four guys that no matter when they touch the football, they have an opportunity to score, every time they get it. So that's different. I'm also seeing, early on, a tremendous amount of movement where you just don't have one guy at one position, one guy in X strictly or a Y strictly or in the slot. They're moving these guys all over the place. So I think it's going to be really complex early on for these guys to learn a totally new scheme. And this is going to be a very in-depth scheme. There's going to be a ton of things that are happening overall with this offense. So, the learning curve is going to take some time because it's going to be a long-winded offensive identity that Liam Cohen is trying to put together. But what sticks out to me more than anything, Thomas Jr. could certainly run a year ago, but you've added three more guys now that can run. So this is the most speed that I've seen a Jaguars team have maybe in 31 years.
Damn.
Hey, let me ask you something real quick, Rick. Where are you at with Trevor's growth? I mean, I know he signed a contract. He's a top 10 paid guy right now. We just saw a big deal yesterday with Purdy signing his deal, and obviously that Purdy deal will probably be top 15 in about 3 years, the way the market is, right? But where is his growth at? I know he takes a lot of heat. I know he won a playoff game in year 2, and then Jacksonville seemed to go up, and then last year they hit a bump again, and now they're in a rebuild mode, it seems like. Is he in rebuild mode? Is he doing anything fundamentally? Or are you hearing anything that he's doing to change the narrative about himself since the contract extension?
I didn't think it was a good day for Trevor yesterday. He missed with a lot of passes. He was high with a lot of balls. He threw a couple of interceptions during 11-on-11. he hadn't thrown in 3.5 months. He had the non-shoulder, the left, I should say the left shoulder, non-throwing shoulder surgery. So he hadn't thrown in 3.5 months. So you knew there were going to be some yips. This is a real intriguing story with Trevor Lawrence because he throws a really good deep ball. Where he struggles is with high percentage passes. And that is something that he has got to fix. I mean, there are times where he's got Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby or whoever it may be, 8 to 10 yards away on a screen, but he'll wind up with a Nolan Ryan fastball. He needs to develop, in my opinion, more consistency as far as his touch. Lay back a little bit on the velocity, find a way to improve that part of your game, which is such an important part of what Liam Cohen wants to bring. But I think it's been unfair for Trevor Lawrence, okay? He was called the generational pick and a can't-miss guy. He's had terrible coaching, terrible in-game play calling coaching, no rushing attack. I think arguably the worst offensive line in pro football. So what did this new organization do? They brought in 6 new offensive linemen. They brought in 2 new running backs. They brought in 2 new wide receivers, and they brought in 2 new tight ends. This is what I've been yelling about forever. Find out if Trevor Lawrence is going to take you to the next level. Do everything you can to improve your offense. And I'll give this organization credit. They've attempted to do that. So now we'll see. The Trevor Lawrence deal, the excuses are going to run out. This is year 5. And, it hasn't been all his fault. But now they're doing other things to try to up his game. And as Liam Cohen said, they're trying to take pressure off him. If you could run the football, that's going to change everything. And I think there's a chance they can run it. But yeah, he's under the microscope here. Trevor Lawrence needs to up his game. And, honestly, right now, I think it's a flip of the coin as to whether or not it really does happen.
Let me ask you something real quick, Smitty. Let me ask you, he signed a 5-year, $275 million deal. What? And he's on the clock and all that, but to 2030, I believe. What do you do if he is if this year is another bad year? What does Jacksonville do? How do they get out from under that? Are you gonna trade him? How do they get out of that deal though?
No, you don't. You're as an organization, you're set back once again. And here's what I think happened. I don't know that it happened, but this year what I think happened is they interviewed 6 different coaches. I think Liam Cohen's the guy who walked up to Shad Khan and said, "Give me the keys. I want to make Trevor Lawrence, a playoff quarterback. Give me the keys. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence in this organization to the Super Bowl." I don't think they want a coach come in and say, Trevor's 22 and 38 as a starter. He misses a lot. We're going to have to really work with him. I think Cohen convinced the people that we can fix him. That almost feels like this is where this organization is. There's no other option but to fix him. And if it doesn't work, then you start all over again. And look at this division. Indy starting all over again. They don't know if Anthony Richardson's the guy. Tennessee is starting all over again. C.J. Stroud in Houston, a year ago at this time, we thought he was entering top 5 quarterback in the league. Then all of a sudden he had a struggle during his second season. So you guys know this league is based around great quarterback play. And the former regime invested so much money in Trevor Lawrence. It's now part of this regime, a huge part of this regime, to finally fix him and take him to the next level. And again, that's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, that's Smitty. Smitty and I argue. That's why I say the NFL needs to do something. They either have to give the quarterback position its own cap, or B, stop paying him this much because none of them are worth this much money. Shit. But go ahead, Smitty.
Yeah. And I was one of the few in town, really the only one in town that didn't like giving him the money when they gave him the money. And, the answer was, pay him now. So, at the end of the deal, it'll look like a bargain. And it will. I mean, you just mentioned the Purdy contract. It will if he gets to that next level. But, that's the main question here. With everything about Travis Hunter and everything about this football team, it still comes down to whether or not Trevor Lawrence can get to where he is supposed to be.
And I guess from your perspective, what would need to happen this year in order to, like, I don't know, prove them right or show that, like, is it like what, win a playoff game or bust, basically, if you're in Jacksonville? Is that like the bar? Is it you got to make to an AFC championship game? Is it just win the division? You know, like what's the expectation that you feel like this season?
Well, there's so much that goes into it. The defense did them no favors. They were worse than the NFL. They only had 8 takeaways. I mean, 8 takeaways in 17 games. You didn't have a guy with more than 1 interception on the team. They were worse in pass defense. They were second worst in sacks. You just go through all their statistical categories, and defensively they were horrible. So hopefully they're better there on defense with a better scheme and some playmaking. I mean, it was very rare to see Jacksonville get the ball after a takeaway at the 50-yard line or on the other side of the football field. I tell you what is a real problem around here, and it's staggering, and it just drives me insane, is that this offense is never ready to play football at 1 o'clock. You go back and you look what they do in the first quarter. They go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. They average 3.2 points in the first quarter. They are freaking asleep when this game starts offensively. And that is scripted plays that they've put together all week long. Let's huddle up. Let's come up. And they can't move the ball. The only time they move the ball is, I call it the helter-skelter offense, is when they're down by a possession or two and it's no huddle, and it's Trevor. Either he's getting the call or he's ignoring it, and he's, making audibles at the line of scrimmage and doing some things that way. And we know that defenses then will be on their heels as opposed to being on their toes. But they got to start fast. So as far as winning a playoff game or things like that, yeah, that would be nice. But honestly, what I think this team needs to do is show massive growth offensively. If they lose 36-30, okay, then you're like, all right, we got to work on the defense here in Jacksonville. But at least this offense is showing that they're moving forward and that they're doing things offensively that they haven't been able to do in the first 4 years for Trevor Lawrence. So to me, it's kind of weird because everything is measured with wins and losses. But in my opinion, this year it is. But a big part of that is also, what are they doing offensively? They averaged 18.8 points a game last year. You can't win scoring 18 points in this league. Can they get it up to 21.5, 22, 23 points this season? And if so, I think, they lost 10 games last year by 1 possession. So if you can improve by 5 points offensively, just, you should win more football games. So that's the way I'm going to look at it, is just noticing an improvement, hopefully a dramatic improvement overall with the offense. And
the defense will be better too, just naturally because of that, because there's less plays of them on the field. There's less, you would imagine less turnovers and change of possession for defense. They're getting more rest. So it kind of all works hand in hand, as you know.
Yeah, they're tired. I mean, the time of possession always favors the opponent. It never favors Jacksonville. And obviously, if you could run the football, then that's going to move the clock with you. And that's a huge part of what Liam Cohen would like to do.
Let me ask you something, Rick, real quick. Did Doug Peterson get the shaft? The reason I asked that is because I think we're so quick to get rid of coaches nowadays. You just mentioned a very, very telling sign that I've been telling coaches for buddies of mine that we talk in the coaching circle. 10 games by 1 possession. That tells me that something's on the way, either A, upwards, because they were a playoff team. He did win a playoff game there. He won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback in Philly. I think the guy knows what he was doing. I think he got fucked. That's me. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see it. Not only him, but a lot of coaches. Like, is this a year, though, that their 10-game 1 possessions are wins now? We'll never know. See what I'm saying? No. Like, I think we're so quick to get rid of guys when they're that close. But go ahead.
Well, I tell you what hurt Doug Peterson is he was loyal to a fault. He never should have allowed Press Taylor to call plays. Doug Peterson called plays in year 1, and that ended up being, their best season. I think Doug Peterson's a good coach. The mistake he made was allowing Press Taylor to consistently call the plays, and everyone knew it and everyone talked about it. but he remained loyal. There was a lot of problems with this organization. No one got along with Trent Baalke. Doug Peterson didn't get along with Trent Baalke. Ryan Nielsen, the defensive coordinator from a year ago, was one of the biggest misses that this organization has ever had. During his press conference, I mean, you thought that this was going to be Vic Fangio. You thought that this was going to be Bill Belichick when he was running the Giants under Bill Parcells. And he ended up having hockey shifts. I remember the first preseason game. They played 3 nickels on the first drive. And you're literally seeing 5 guys come off the field and I'm like, what? And I asked Doug Peterson at the press conference after, I'm like, have you ever seen anything like that before? And that became a huge talking point here. Too much rotation. So it was a really bad year, but it felt like Peterson checked out. It did. After Trevor got hurt, it wasn't a good look for him not to be there checking on his quarterback. He kind of had his arms folded, and I thought the team didn't do enough. I would have had 15-yard penalties all over the place, and guys, getting ejected. That's your quarterback laying concussed on the grass. I thought that was a bad look for Doug Peterson. At the press conference, he got on Jerry and Jones for retaliating and said, I'm going to have to talk with him. Well, and if you guys remember this story, you go to Houston, you look at Nick Cesario and what have you, they were clearly 100% wrong. Trevor had gotten down in plenty of time, yet they went overboard to defend their player and defend their team, which to me was so noble, where the exact opposite here happened here in Jacksonville. So I'm really surprised it didn't work. I still think Doug Peterson's a really good coach, but his biggest mistake was relying way too much on Press Taylor. And again, he was totally in disagreement with Trent Baalke. Their second-round pick last year, Mason Smith, missed 6 games. Okay, 3, he was a healthy scratch. You don't healthy scratch a second-round pick unless you're trying to send a message that he thought it was the wrong pick. So, yeah, it just didn't end up well here for Peterson. But I'll say this. I like him, and I'm surprised, and I'm almost disappointed. I'm sure if he could go all over again and do it, he would have elected to call plays.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's not about you being a bad coach. It's about you just needing some new energy in the locker room, just a new direction, just to bring something for those players and that community to be excited about. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, right. Doug Peterson's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's experienced, so we know he's a good coach, but maybe he's not the right coach for that team for whatever reason. So I get that. Yeah. Is there any team, I guess, right now as you look at the AFC South leading into the season, are the Texans, you feel like just the kings of the AFC South, or is there really any team that's you feel like is at the top right now?
Well, again, it's the good news for Jacksonville is that it's a very dysfunctional division.
It is.
I mean, this division has problems.
I'm a Colts fan. I'm from Indianapolis, so trust me, I got you.
I mean, all 4 teams, and so I think it's very winnable for Jacksonville. Yeah. The betting public right now says it's Houston. Okay, that they're the perennial playoff team, and they've won playoff games, and but still, I wonder about Stroud a little bit and some of the changes that Houston has made. I think that they will be the favorite to win it, but this schedule this year for Jacksonville actually turns out to be a positive for them. Their last 7 games, they only faced one team who had a winning record a year ago. So, the problem for this organization, like last year, as I said, they couldn't do anything offensively. Jacksonville started the year 0-4. I mean, what do you think that says to your fan base when you can't even get excited in the month of September? And not only could they not get excited in the month of September about winning a game, they couldn't get excited about taking a freaking lead. Okay, having to be 12 minutes to go in the first quarter, but you're up 3-0, or you're up 7-0, so the fans can sit. I mean, it was just down as far as you could possibly imagine from the time that toe met leather. So if they turn that around a little bit, and as I always talk about on my show, feel free to show up at 1:00 on offense and pick up a first down. I'm not asking for a touchdown. Okay,
right?
How about a first down? instead of a 3 and out and a punt. So if they can do things like that, this schedule is a better schedule for Jacksonville than it certainly is for Houston. And I think there's a chance that they can win the AFC South. I do believe that.
And let me ask you some last thing I got for you, Rick. I appreciate you hopping on here. Let me ask you so give me some insight on this Travis Hunter deal. How percentage-wise, just or play-wise, let's just say there's 75 plays ran in a game. What is the realistic chances that he's half split down the middle, or is he going to be heavy offense, or is he going to be more heavy on defense? Is there a consensus yet, I guess, on what he plays more of, or where you at with that?
No, he's going to be offense. We've yet to see him on defense. We haven't seen him take one rep yet on defense. He's going to be offense first, and they say 75-25, 75% offense, 25% defense. This, to me, is going to be incredible to watch. I can't see it because he doesn't have the body. He doesn't have the body for it. I mean, I watched him at Colorado on TV. I saw him when he got here at the press conference. Then I saw him a week ago Saturday, standing out next to him on the field. He's got some of the skinniest legs I have ever seen. He's listed at 185. My guess is maybe 175, if that. And the heat here is brutal. It was 95 yesterday out off the St. Johns River, and it's May. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in June? And then when training camp starts in late July, it's going to be so hard for him to keep weight on. But he's such a clever kid, such a good kid. I asked him last Saturday about that. How hard is it going to be to keep the weight on? And I said, and what is your ideal playing weight? And he looks right at me and goes, my ideal playing weight is whatever the coach wants it to be. And I'm like, damn, that kid's got it. He's a 4.0 student. He's so infectious. You see him, he's dancing around in between reps. I mean, he's got it. One of the identities of this new regime is, quote unquote, do you love football? Travis Hunter loves football. Dave Campo, former coach of the Cowboys, works with us at the radio station. I've had a long conversation with him about it because he had Deion Sanders, and I went to school with Deion, and I remember Deion going to Bob, let me play offense. And Bob's like, no, you're playing defense. I'll let you return punts, but you're not playing offense. I just think it's too much with so much talent in this league. The guy's going to get really nicked up. And Dave Campo told me that you get, in his opinion, from his years of being a coach, that it's a lot easier to get hurt as a defensive back than it is as a wide receiver. So he thinks his ability to keep playing is going to happen much more on the offensive side of the football than the defense. I hope they can find a way to put some weight on him, but that's the biggest concern that I have. His lower body, there is such an opportunity for him to add weight. I was really surprised at how small his legs were and still are.
No doubt. Man, we can't thank you enough, Rick, with the insight on the Jags and all things training camp. And I know OTAs and everything. It's going to be an exciting time. So look forward to seeing you call that stuff. And hopefully we can see this Travis Hunter kid prove everybody wrong, including myself. I'm one of the ones that are doubting it. So we'll see. Appreciate you joining us, brother.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
All right,
Have a great day.
You too.
You as well.